Okay, welcome to the second go-to session for week two. This one is really just going to cover the assignment you're going to work on that's due this Sunday night. It's not a particularly difficult assignment, but it's sort of like the week one assignment in that I don't know. Other DGL instructors handle things differently. I like to sort of walk through, maybe not every step, but some of the kind of key pieces because if not, it can seem like a lot is being thrown at you. For example, the week one assignment, I don't think the DGO assignment was terribly difficult, but it asks you to do so many things, right? Set up the account, learn how to bookmark, learn how to highlight, create a list within the DGO library, create headings within that list, move those headings around. So this assignment is kind of similar in some ways, in which it's going to ask you to do a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't want to see people lose points for missing some of those steps because in lots of ways, it's not that in DGL we don't care about content because we do. It's not that we don't care about the quality of your writing because we do, but there's a lot of emphasis placed on students being able to show that they know how to use these different tools, these different functions, and on some level being able to show that to us. So because of that, I'm going to go over things, with some care. So let me get this blown up to a bigger size. Okay, so the assignment this week is called Research Incredible Connections. That's the name of the assignment, although we did talk about this the other day. So, in some ways, you're going to be taking what you used both in my go to session and probably was covered in the global session, although that one deals more specifically with just the library. But all the stuff that we talked about last time, we talked about the TED Talk video, we talked about your personal examples of things that you sensed online that seemed suspicious or you didn't know whether you could trust it or not. Um, I can't remember. Maybe we didn't talk about Wikipedia, but we've talked about it, I think, in passing that places like Wikipedia can't be trusted because the materials created entirely by a community, which on the one hand is great. I'm all for open source and communities of people working together, but it also means it's not going through the standard sort of chain of command that other sorts of publications do. So part of this week's assignment is going to ask you to find sources, and I'll explain what kind of sources you'll be looking for, and to sort of excuse me, examine those things that we talked about last session. Let me take a swig of water. Okay, so here's an overview. I just want to quickly check in to see how the team debates are going. Then I'll get right into the assignment and what you're doing. And if you have any questions, we'll have time for that. But you can interrupt as well. There's only four of us here so far. Probably one or two people will pop in soon, hopefully. But if you do have questions as I'm speaking, yeah, you can go ahead and raise your hand or use the chat section. I'll try to keep my eye open for that. I certainly don't want to silence people if they have questions along the way because maybe you'll forget about them as we get deeper into the presentation. And when we get to the Q&A session, it perhaps will have flown completely out of your head. But be sure to ask questions either in this session or after the fact if you think of them. If you haven't contacted me with other things, you could ask people who have. I'm pretty quick at getting back to people. So if you message me through FSO, I tend to get back pretty quickly. But if you do have questions during the session, please don't hold back. Okay, excuse me. So first, the team debates. How are those going? Team A, Team B, Team C, Team Edward, Team Jacob. So whatever team you're a part of. Richard, you're saying things. Richard, which team are you in again? Okay, Brandon's in Team B. John's in Team A. Okay, Richard, you're in Team C. Uh, in a second, I'll maybe. Well, actually, you don't have to wait. If you could just tell me in the chat, have your team members been responding? I ask because Team C's in that awkward position where they have to wait until Team A and Team B post their results before they can really get to work. So their discussion board has been understandably slow, but I'm hoping that's just because they're still waiting for their part to begin, not because team members haven't been communicating. Yeah, Jonathan, I had to go there. I have to make pop culture jokes every so often, and I shouldn't admit this, but I've read all the Twilight books and I've seen all the Twilight movies. Stereotypically, they're supposed to be women's books, right? Or teen girls' books, but I've read them. I've seen the movies. I don't know which team I'm on. I'm probably the wrong guy to ask. Probably Team Jacob. And the weird thing is, I'm not even like a super fan of the books or the films. I just read them because every so often something is so culturally big that I feel like I should be reading it. So I've read the first two books in the Hunger Games series. I haven't gotten around to book three yet. I haven't read Harry Potter. I know that sounds sacrilegious. I just haven't gotten around to reading those. For some reason, I'm just not excited or interested. But I should, just so I'm aware of that as well. I'm getting off topic. I apologize for that. Plus, if I don't read the books, then I can't watch the movies because I'm really, really obsessive and anal retentive about that. Like I hate to watch movies when I know that there's a popular book out there. So I haven't even seen the Harry Potter movies either. So yeah, good point, Jonathan. At the end, there are no teams. Yeah, because Jacob is imprinted to Bella's daughter. Oh, I feel so bad for the people who are going to watch this session, the recording. They're going to be like slitting their wrists if they have no interest in Twilight. They're just going to be skipping ahead in the video. Okay, team updates. Richard says Team A has posted the final draft of their debate, I believe. Okay, I didn't see that. I didn't catch that. I mean, I'll have to take a look at it, see if it kind of passes the muster. In theory, Team A and Team B were supposed to kind of send me the results, and then I would post it to the board. But if they mostly followed the instructions, so there's a somewhat in-depth statement and links to their research and the list of team members who contributed, that's fine. Um, yeah, in theory, it was supposed to go through me first, just so I don't know, because some of that information, like who contributed, who didn't, probably should stay a bit private. But that's fine. Yeah, so that's a reminder right there. So Team A and Team B, you're supposed to send me your materials. Um, the stuff I just mentioned, right? You should have a statement. I said it should probably be a couple paragraphs, and then links to your research, whatever it was, articles, online news pieces, videos, whatever you good stuff you found. Um, and then yeah, a list of team members, and then I would have posted to the board. So team A or B or team B. If yeah, Jonathan, you're in team B, so if you haven't done that yet, get that to me when you can. I'm pretty flexible, so if you need a little bit more time, if you get it to me by noon tomorrow or even early afternoon, that's fine. It just has to be posted for Team C by Friday, so that they have time Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to look through things. And this is a reminder. I know we only have one Team C member here, but because the rest of them will hopefully watch this video, or they'll get in contact with Richard. Team C, on the surface, it seems like Team C doesn't have as much to do as Team A and Team B, but that's not true at all. Team C's job is not to just look at Team A and Team B and pick a winner. You'll have to read their statement carefully. You'll have to look at their links, their research, and really spend some thoughtful time deciding who made the best case in your opinion. So, for example, if one of the teams linked to I don't know, a news article that you didn't find particularly compelling, you might want to make that clear in your statement. So you do have some work. It's just from a different angle from TA and Team B. But it's not a case where Team A and Team B does all this work and Team C just sits back and goes, okay, Team B, winners. It's a bit more than that, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, Jonathan, that's good. I like to see the team members work, so hopefully it isn't just one person who's typing it all up, and it would be nice to have the other people look through it. So I think that's a good strategy. Richard, yeah, judging isn't a big deal. It feels weird that you have to pick a winner. I shouldn't even use the word winner. We're all winners, but I don't think anybody. It's in all honesty, it's not even a matter of winners or losers. I'm not being PC when I say that. It's really just a matter of like not just who made the best case, but who knows? Team C might just, as objective as they're trying to be, they might already be predisposed one way or the other. Um, so it's less about winners and losers, and really kind of deciding where you stand on the issue, given the information that those two teams have given you. Okay, so that's great news. The team B team debates are going well. It's always an awkward assignment. I mean, it always works well because there's always three, four, five team members in each group who are participating. But I know that it can be difficult when there are certain team members who aren't. So it's good that this is moving forward. Okay, so team debates are wrapping up. Team A and Team B are pretty much done. So that means you're kind of done. You can concentrate on the next assignment, which I'm going to talk about right now. Team C, yeah, you have some work to do, but I don't think you'll have trouble finding time to do that work. You'll just have to remember that there's an assignment due Sunday, which kind of comes right in the middle of things. Um, okay, so the 2.5 assignment. Okay, so this is what you're going to work on for this Sunday. Here it is. Here's some just basic stuff. This assignment, you're going to choose a company to research. I'll talk more about that in just a second. Once you've chosen a company to research, you're going to use both the Full Sail Library database and search engines to conduct that research. And then you're going to create a presentation. And actually, hold on a second. I hate it when I make errors because it makes me look bad. This assignment, which you will choose a company to research. Oh, no, that's right. I just read it along. I thought I had not written that correctly. Okay, so this assignment is going to take the form of a presentation. Most students choose one of the first two here, PowerPoint or Keynote. These are both slide presentations. Everybody in the world knows what PowerPoint is. Keynote is just Apple's version. So if you have your MacBook, most of you don't, I'm guessing, because you don't get your launch boxes until month 5 of the program. But if some of you are already Apple users or Mac users, or maybe you have a tablet that has some of this software installed, Keynote is basically Apple's version of PowerPoint. Most students choose one of these two, uh, which is fine. I have absolutely no problems with that. It's perhaps the most obvious and natural presentation form to use because after all, you're creating a presentation. Some students use Prezi. Prezi is it's also presentation software that's available online. So PowerPoint and Keynote are actual programs that you pretty much need installed on your computer. Although today there are ways through Microsoft One Source, I think it's called. It's their version of Google Docs where you can use tools like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint online. But typically these are things that are installed on your machine, whereas Prezi is an online presentation school and it's a kind of glitzier, snazzier version. Are people familiar with Prezi? Have you seen Prezi presentations or heard of Prezi? Um, what's neat about Prezi is it uses what's called 2.5D, which is it's it it's 2D, but it gives the illusion of 3D because it's PowerPoint and Keynote are pretty much static slides. You move from one flat slide to another flat slide, whereas Prezi is it's difficult to describe in words, but it moves, it swoops, it zooms in and out. It gives the illusion again of this kind of 3D depth, even though it's not truly 3D. So it's just a glitzier, fancier presentation. Jonathan says Keynote does that. Yeah, I have seen some impressive Keynote presentations, so you're probably right. I just haven't played with Keynote very much. Excuse me, let me take another drink. So yeah, some of these programs have powerful tools underneath the hood, but Prezi kind of is designed that way to begin with. Um, so if you're familiar with Prezi or you want to try it out, there's an option. I'll come back and try to give examples. Blogs work really well for this assignment. Most students don't try that, but I'll give not an example, but I'll sort of give some hints where if you want to try the blogging option, I'll explain to you how you can set up this assignment so that it works through a blog. And then you can use any other presentation tool you feel is appropriate. Microsoft Word probably isn't the greatest tool to use, but you could use it. Actually, let me get away from this for a second. If you do use Word, and I'm giving the advice not to use Word, I think it's not built for this kind of thing. But I have had students hand in things via Word. Um, it, I've just opened Word, and you'll notice that they have more than just Word templates. Like they have newsletters, so it's possible that you could choose a newsletter template, and it automatically sets up like 5 or 6 default pages. So I guess you could manipulate one of these templates to make something that looks kind of decent looking. But in general, Microsoft Word isn't a great choice just because it's not built to do that kind of thing. Where was I? But yeah, any presentation tool you feel is appropriate. So if I haven't mentioned something and you want to run it by me, that's fine. I'm an iMovie addict. You probably wouldn't use iMovie for this thing, but I love iMovie because in addition to it having this ability to shoot film or to take film that you've already shot and use it. I love it because you can almost use it like PowerPoint. You can use images, and instead of it being just a generic slideshow presentation, iMovie allows you to add more effects and add music and record voiceover. I know you can do some of these things in PowerPoint and Keynote as well, but I've actually gotten used to using iMovie as a sort of glorified slideshow program. So basically, you can use whatever tool is appropriate. You just have to choose one. Um, I'm sorry, I saw something come up. We had some interference, or I got an error for a second. Adobe Elements. I'm not super familiar with Adobe Elements. Let me see. Oops, no, I don't want to cancel the training. Let me go to my thing here. Let me open up a new window. Got like 10 windows open. Adobe Elements. I mean, you can also describe it to me in the chat. Adobe tools, I'm like so out of touch on. Uh, is this right? Is it part of Photoshop? It's a movie making part of Photoshop. Then yeah, it would work. I mean, the important thing is that, and I'll explain in more detail this assignment. You're going to be dealing with some images. You're going to have to take some screenshots. You're going to have to produce paragraphs of text. That's why traditional presentation software works really well because it's just naturally built to handle both images and text. But if Adobe Elements can do that, yeah, you're free to tackle it. As we get more into the description of what you need to do, you'll probably have a stronger sense of what might work best for you. And actually, let's switch gears and do that now. Okay, so here's the assignment sheet. Um, as always, read through this entirely on your own because I'm not going to read it out loud like an elementary school class. You can read through the objectives on your own. What you're probably most interested in are the components, like what you need to do. Um, it's basically broken down into four parts. Part one, you're going to choose a company that you respect. Okay. It should be related to your industry. Let me add that. Okay. So if you're in music, you should pick some sort of music company. If you're in game art or game design, you'll probably choose a software company or a video game company, either an indie company or a AAA title company. If you're in mobile app development, maybe you'll choose, you get the picture. You'll choose something that's related to your field. If you're in sports marketing and media, we have a program on that at Full Sail. You might choose something like ESPN. Yeah, Jonathan, yeah, Valve. So if you're into gaming or software, Valve would be a fine choice. We don't have an education program here, but since my background is education, I could choose Full Sail University. So step one is to choose a company that you respect. Next, you're going to find that company's info through the LexisNexis database. Now, I'm hoping that you've already either attended or watched the global session for this week because that session should have given you so much great information about the library, not just in terms of what you need to complete the assignments for this course, but in terms of the full range of things that are available to you. Um, and one of the things that's available to you is LexisNexis, and that's where you're going to go to find your company information. Yeah, Richard, they have games. The Full Sail Library database has a collection of sound files. I'm completely blanking on the name of that database. Oh, it'll come to me once I go into the database. But basically, the sorts of sound files that you normally have to pay like $60 for, you have complete access to as a student. So if you're a recording arts person or a music production person and you need to use a sample to help you write a song, or if you just need to use music to fancy up a presentation or project that you're working on, they have all those sorts of things. I think there's a music database that might include, I can't remember if it includes sheet music or something, but there's a ton of resources there on the Full Sail Library databases. If you're a campus student, I forget who just made the comment about Steam. If you're a campus student, you can actually check out at our physical library games. So if you need to get that newest PS3 title or PS4 title, we do have games. I've never tried to check them out. Who knows? I'm guessing that popular titles are probably not on the shelf. But if you're here in Orlando, we do have games to check out as well. Oh, Jonathan says you can have the games mailed to you. You mean through Full Sail or through some other service? They have those things like GameFly, and it sounds like you guys are saying it's through the Full Sail thing. Okay, see, I didn't know that. Well, that's cool too. So lots of great stuff. So hopefully that global presentation already introduced you to the full range of possibilities. But that's where you're going to go to find your company info through the LexisNexis database. Once you found this information on your company through LexisNexis, you're going to take a screenshot. Okay. And actually, I think we need to fix these instructions because here it says, once you have found this information, use the capture feature on Digo. But I believe capture, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think capture through Digo needs a premium account, not a free account. I could be wrong, but I was trying to find that feature the other day. And actually, let me go back to the PowerPoint real quickly because the next slide is about screenshots. Do you all know how to take screenshots? On a Mac, you're going to press Shift Command 3 if you want to select a certain area of your screen to take a screenshot. If you just want to grab the entire screen, which is what I typically do, it's Shift Command 4. On PC, and someone correct me if I'm wrong about this because I no longer have a PC. One of the great things about being an instructor and a student at Full Sail is you get awesome MacBook Pros, and I'll never go back to PC. So I believe on PC you have to press the Windows logo plus the print screen button. The Windows logo is that thing that looks like four squares that are connected together. It looks like a window. Plus print screen. Can anybody verify that? Or I've also heard that on PCs you can press Shift Control 3 or 4 to take a screenshot. If you want to try it out right now, you can try to take a screenshot. I think you can Google. I'm pretty sure on a PC, a modern PC. Richard, you're saying Alt plus print screen does it. Is that correct, Richard, for PC? Because if it is, I'll enter that in right now, and they puts it on your clipboard. You think? Okay. I feel bad for the people who are watching this video later. From what I Googled, if you have a really current version of Windows, like Windows 7 or Windows 8, it should be just a matter of pressing that Windows icon, if you have one on your keyboard, plus print screen. Jonathan says just hitting print screen puts it on your clipboard and then paste to paint. Why would you have to paste it into another program? You can't just paste it into, I don't know, your PowerPoint slide or your Keynote slide. Because in just a second, I'm going to show how easy it is. Yeah, Richard says that would work too. Okay, so if people are watching, just hitting print screen should take a screenshot. Maybe you have to press the Windows logo key plus print screen. Um, I wish I had a PC. I don't have a PC to try it out on, and I've never had one since I've worked at Full Sail. I trust people to figure it out. Most people know how to take screenshots in 2014. Okay, let me get away from this. No, I don't want you to see that yet. Okay, let's go back to the assignment sheet. Okay, so part one is choosing a company that's related to your industry, taking a screenshot of the company info that you found on LexisNexis, and writing a paragraph. Okay, you're going to write a paragraph where you basically explain why it is you like this company and why you chose it. Okay, try to be somewhat specific. Don't just say I think Valve is awesome and that's why I chose it. I mean, be a bit more detailed about that. But you will write a paragraph explaining your choice, why you chose that company. Um, I'm not sure whether to explain each part separately and then show how to do it, or to show how to do each part one at a time. If you guys have a preference, weigh in. Richard says Alt plus print screen takes a snapshot of the selected window. Okay. So there's a good thing for people to know. Alt plus print screen will probably bring up something like a selection tool, so you can drag it to take a screenshot of whatever section you want on the thing. I could probably demonstrate that right now on Mac. I'm guessing it would look pretty similar. For example, if I choose to do the just not the whole screen, but a selection, I would press Command 3. No, that's to take the whole screen. 4. It brings up this little like bullseye. And let's say I only want to capture, I don't know, this top portion here. I would just drag and boom, it took a picture. And you can see it's telling me my screenshots all automatically go to my Dropbox, so that's kind of convenient. I don't have to worry about where they are. I always know. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna explain the different parts completely first, and then I'll show how to do them instead of going back and forth. Yeah, everything's easier on a Mac. I'm not an anti PC guy. I was on PCs all my life. I was a PC guy mostly because early on, like in the late '90s, early 2000s, gaming was so much better on PC. But now because consoles are kind of cheaper and more commonplace, I pretty much just use a console for gaming and then use my MacBook for serious work. Um, and yeah, I don't mean to make you jealous, but if you hang in there, you pass DGL, you do great in your other classes, you get to month 5, you'll get a MacBook too. Um, okay, so part 1 is pretty easy. Yeah, Macs have much better security. Like viruses are unknown on Macs. All these worm viruses and things that you always hear about in the news, they don't happen on Mac. Um, so that's awesome. Okay, so part 2. Okay, so you've chosen your company, you've taken a screenshot, you've written your paragraph about why you've chosen the company. Next is part 2. You're gonna you're gonna stay in that same database, LexisNexis, and you're going to find 2 articles about that company. You're going to read those articles, and then you're going to use the evaluation guide in order to produce a paragraph where you essentially answer those questions. That might have sounded confusing, so let me show you the evaluation guide. You can click right here to get the evaluation guide, or it's uploaded on the activity as a separate file. I have it open already, so let's take a look at that. Here's the evaluation guide. Basically, it's taking those questions, not every single question, but a lot of the questions from those 10 C's that some of you already looked at for the discussion this week. And as you can see, there's a series of questions. Basic stuff like what is the title? What is the permalink? I'll get to that. I'll explain that in just a second and show you where to find it. But basically, here are your questions, right? So questions related to authority and credibility. Um, who are the authors? Uh, does the article provide an author title or job description? Some articles do. They'll say John Smith is senior editor of so and so. He has been working in the area of X for 10 years, and sometimes you don't. You don't have to do the extra legwork, but if you want to show off, because it takes all of 10 seconds, you just highlight the author's name and Google it. If you want to find out just on your own who the authors are and share that, that's great. Where does the article originate from? Okay, it didn't come from LexisNexis. That's where you found it. It probably came from, the New York Times or Time Magazine or the Orlando Sentinel or something like that. And then so on. Currency and continuity, which is just a fancy way to talk about dates and availability. So, does it have a date or some sort of timestamp? To the best of ability. Excuse me. Another drink of water. To the best of your ability, can you tell if the article has been revised or updated? And if so, does it include that information? Does the publication have a solid standing and history for accessibility? Sometimes if it's a conventional outlet like a major newspaper, it probably has pretty solid standing and history. But what about accessibility like online? Sometimes you can find out that information, sometimes not. Issues of content and bias. So some factual stuff like what is the article about? In your opinion, is it pretty accurate and thorough? Does it seem biased? Sometimes articles can seem obviously biased, right? So if there's I don't know, an article about a AAA game company and the author clearly is a lover of indie games, maybe he reveals that bias in some subtle way, or maybe some sort of obvious way. It's basically you kind of using your judgment. What we talked about the other day, where you have to kind of be not suspicious to a paranoid extent, but you're kind of sniffing out how trustworthy something is. And one of the things involved is trying to determine if there's any bias or if it's completely neutral. And then the other stuff's pretty explanatory: citations and links. Does the author cite anything? Not just literally cite, like does he have formal references, but does he or she say somewhere in the article, according to a recent government study, or according to Forbes, or according to such and such, and other things. Are there links to other articles? Richard says, so if we choose a company, find an article about it, and research the sources in the article. Yeah, kind of. You're not so much researching the sources as you are evaluating the sources, and not so much researching. I mean, you're examining the article with such care that it's kind of research. But unless you want to Google like information on the author to show off, or maybe the publication, you don't have to wander away too much from the article itself. Well, these are the 10 C's basically, Richard. So it's a kind of condensed version. Yeah, Jonathan, there will be a total of 4 articles, and you're going to write 1 paragraph on each. And I actually have a checklist that reminds people that. Because again, there's so much information in the assignment sheet that some people can get lost exactly what they're doing. And really, I'm going to come back and give a big summary of what you're doing and what needs to be included. And it will make complete sense. So yeah, just go through it. And maybe not all these questions you'll be able to answer, but a lot of them you should be. And here's the thing: you're not just gonna like copy the question, present your answer, copy the question, present your answer. What you're going to You can start that way, but what you're going to do is take all this information and transform it into a single paragraph. Okay, or 2 paragraphs. I really don't mind if it's more than 1 paragraph, but you're going to answer these questions in basically paragraph form. Okay, so it's not just question answer, question answer, question answer. These questions are helping you come up with the answers that are going to create the content for your paragraphs. Does that make sense? Okay. So, part one, you found your company and taken a snapshot. Part two, you've found 2 articles through LexisNexis. Part three, oh, let me just remind, for part two, you have to include either the permalink, which I'll show you how to find in just a moment, or you'll take another screenshot of that article. Okay. Part three is exactly the same, except here you're not going to be using the Full Sail Library database. You're going to be using traditional search engines. Okay, so Yahoo, Google, what have you. And there's an article here you can click on that teaches you how to use search operators. Like if you want to look for, I don't know, music and Michael Jackson, you can put music and then the plus sign, Michael Jackson. If you're using a phrase, you can put quotation marks around that phrase and it will look for the words in that phrase exactly. Whereas if you don't use quotation marks, you might get results that have those words, but they're not necessarily all going together. Most of you kind of know how search engines work, but you're going to find 2 articles using like Google or Yahoo or whatever. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to use those evaluation guide questions to help you create paragraphs for those 2 articles you found through just the general internet. Um, the only difference here is here you're not going to include permalinks. You are going to bookmark these articles and add them to your Deagle list. And I strongly recommend just creating a new Deagle list within your library, like you did during week one. Week one, you created a list called DGL vocabulary. For this week, you should probably create something like, I don't know, research incredible connections. And within that, place your bookmarked information. You might even create headings so it makes things look more organized. So use those tools that you learned from week one. And finally, part four is you're going to go back to the Full Sail library. You're going to go to the AP images collection and you're going to find 4 images, right? So 4 photos that you're going to include in your presentation. You can put them anywhere you want in your presentation. You should put them in logical places, Most people, not everybody, most people tend to have the images accompany whatever article they're commenting on. It seems like a natural thing that there's an image, there's your paragraph on that article. Um, but you can put images wherever you think is appropriate. Um, the only thing you have to remember here is that you have to also include the numerical ID tag for that photo, and I'm going to show how you do that as well. Jonathan saying these sessions go really fast. Am I talking too fast? Or is it just the information seems a lot more intense than the global sessions? I can slow down. Sometimes I think I'm trying to go slow. Oh, okay, it's a compliment. I'm being entertaining about it. Yeah, I try to keep things moving. Um, well, good. Okay, so now let's figure out how to do all this stuff. By now, you should know how to get to the Full Sail Library because you just saw a global session about it. And also, I think I even showed this the other day when we were talking about, I forget what, but I went to the library. So you go to Full Sail Connect, right? You can just Google Full Sail Connect, or from your FSO page, you just click on the Full Sail symbol up here. And you go to Organizations, Library, and Research Databases. And here's that huge list of stuff I was talking about. Oh, now I remember the name Westar. Westar is the Westar Music, database of more than 10,000 musical scores and sound effect clips. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, you have lots of good stuff. Oxford Art Online. There's a link. It's actually a separate website, but there's something called Game Sutra, which is dedicated to video games. Actually, I'm no longer seeing it. Maybe they removed that one. Well, that's too bad. I kind of like that one. Oh no, there it is. Game Sutra. Okay, a specific journal dedicated to computer game research. So lots of good stuff. But okay, we're going to LexisNexis, which is right here. So part one is asking you to choose a company and find out company info. Once you're on the LexisNexis page, look, you have it right there. Get company info. So because I like video games, I'm gonna choose the company Naughty Dog. Do you know Naughty Dog? I like Naughty Dog because in the old PS2 days, they made the Jack and Daxter games. They're much more famous recently because they made Uncharted, which are like some of my favorite games to play. I've played all three of those games. Like I don't usually play games over and over again, but those games I've played endlessly. And they had a game that came out a little, yeah, about a year ago called The Last of Us. That's a fantastic game too. So if you're not a Naughty Dog fan, I apologize, but I'm going to use them just because I have them on my mind. Yeah, I used to be the opposite, Richard. I was a PC guy because console games back in the late '90s, early 2000s just seemed like too childish. They didn't have the sort of in-depth adult kind of games that PCs offered, but consoles have kind of done the opposite. They now really target older teens, adults, and they're the kind of more satisfying. I know you lose out because on PCs you get all these cool things like mods. You get much higher frame rates. You can really just show off what a game can do, and that's yeah, I miss that. But um, I just for cost reasons, I had to switch. I mean, updating your PC every every 2 years or whatever, so you could have the most play the most current games. It just got insane. Much easier to spend that $300 on a PS3 or a PS4, and then you're good for like 8 years. So I like that. Yeah, people are getting into nostalgia in the chat room. Sega Genesis. Oh yeah, I remember. I'm old. I'm 43, so my first video game system was the Atari 2600 back in 1982, I'd say, or something. And then we had ColecoVision, ColecoVision, and then there was what else did we have? Super Nintendo, the original NES system, right? Not Super Nintendo. It wasn't Super, just the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then yeah, I dropped out for a while. Like I didn't touch any of those things you guys are talking about: Nintendo 64, SNES, Super Nintendo. Game Cubes and all that. Like I just dropped out of all that stuff, and when I did get back into gaming, it was in the PC variety. Okay, back on track. Naughty Dog. Let's see what happens when I click the magic button. Okay, so we get three results. Naughty Dog Cafe, no, that's not it. Naughty Dog Coffee Bar and Deli, no, that's not it. You might be tempted to think it's this one. Okay, that's not a cafe or a bar, but look what happens. We'll wait for this to load. Uh oh, we find out it's another eating place. It's a restaurant, so that's not right. So the lesson here is you might have to click on View All Companies. And you can see there are a lot of Naughty Dogs out there, right? Naughty Dog Club in Japan, Naughty Dog Pet Shop. And in this case, if you're not sure, you can click through each one and find it, or you can just, hey, the internet's your friend. Go on Google and find out where Naughty Dog is located, which I already did. So I know it's this one, number 12. Okay, so there it is. Right, this is our company info. I just need to take a screenshot. I'm going to do that right now. Oops, I always press the wrong one. I don't want to select. I want the whole screen. There we go. Okay, no, I didn't want to take another picture. Let me take one more picture. These are like MacBook selfies, just endless pictures of the MacBook screen. And let me try something out. I've never done this in the past, but let's pretend that I'm doing this assignment. So, okay, I would pick a better design than that, but let's call this researching credible connections naughty dog. Right, so there's my title slide. God, I hate looking at a blank screen. It's driving me crazy. Let me just pick a theme so it has some style. There we go. That's prettier. Okay, so I'll insert a new slide, and look how easy it is. Let's say I want to call this slide like a company profile. For me, it's easy. I just go to my Dropbox, uh, which is taking a while to come up. I find my screenshots. I automatically know it's the last screenshot I took. I just drag it in there. Boom. Right? There's my company profile. And from here, I can move it. I can resize it. So, for example, if I think it's a good thing for maybe the screenshot in my one paragraph about why I chose this company to appear on the same slide, I can resize the image. I can use my text box tool to add text, right? I chose Naughty Dog, blah, 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 right? And I could create my paragraph, blah, blah, blah. You could do things however you want. You can move the image wherever you want. You can have the screenshot. Uh, well, actually, let me move this out of the way for a second. I could do things like this, have it take the entire length of the page, and maybe, well, that looks terrible. I would probably, yeah, just put it in half and put my paragraph over here or something. Or if you want to have it take up the whole page and have a separate slide with your paragraph accompanied by an image, you can do that as well. But you can play around with it. You guys know how to use this stuff, so I'm not going to waste time. That looks terrible up there. So okay. By the way, that's an ugly looking slide. I would pick a different theme. It looks too white up top. Not that you have to obsess about these things. That's not really very attractive either, but at least it's a little bit better. I don't know. You could play around with this on your own. I'm just kind of showing you the gist of what you need to be doing. So okay, there's step one, right? Now, while you're on this page with the company profile, probably the simplest thing to do to find your two articles is right underneath overview. There's this thing called current news. You could go back to LexisNexis, the main page, and just do a search for Naughty Dog, and you'll get a gazillion results. But if you want to look for the most current news, um, You should check that out first. Please don't just grab the first thing you see. Ideally, you're supposed to be finding two articles that interest you. So, Activision denies Naughty Dog use of Bandicoot in contest. Okay, maybe that's interesting. Maybe it's not because maybe I'm not. I don't really care about the fact that Naughty Dog is having some contest. But if I scroll down, I can choose one that does interest me. Right. So Nathan Drake returns for Uncharted 4. That might be okay. However, it's if it's primarily about the game and not really about Naughty Dog, maybe I'd pass on it. Okay, so we want Naughty Dog information. The Naughty Dog graphics hype is missing the point. That sounds interesting because that seems like it's about Naughty Dog. And we can already tell from the title that maybe it has a slant to it, right? Something about graphics hype and missing the point. So it sounds like the author already has an opinion. So when it gets time to answer those questions about does the author have a certain bias or is he trying to convince you of something, that seems to work pretty well. And it was published in Forbes. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And what else did I want to show? And here you can either take, once you get into the article, you can either take a screenshot of it or a permalink or share the permalink. I'm a little bit confused because I rarely use LexisNexis, and in some of the other databases, there's always a permalink to like the right. I wonder what happens if I just copy it like this. Hold on, let me try something out. Bear with me. Nah, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Oh wait, okay, now I see it. Create permalink. It's just it's in a different location for other databases. So if you click up top, you can create a permanent link, right? And you just have to copy and paste this. Okay. So you have two options. You can take a screenshot or you can just share the permalink and just have it somewhere in the presentation that that makes sense. For the article, I'm going to create a new slide. So let's say I don't know what you'd call this. You could either call it Lexis Nexus article number one, and you can come up with your own titles. Maybe you put the actual title of the article here. That's fine too. And then maybe this is where you put your paragraph where you answer those questions from the evaluation guide, and include maybe that permalink or your screenshot or your image from the AP databases. This is where it gets confusing because you basically can design the presentation to look however you want, just as long as you're doing so in a logical sort of way. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to find two articles through LexisNexis and either take a screenshot or share the permalink with me. Okay. And then you're going to do the exact same thing using a search engine. So if I go to Google, I think most browsers today function this way, right? I don't even need to go to Google. I can just start typing in Naughty Dog. You can see I already searched for it earlier. Okay, so obviously the results are basic stuff to begin with. So I probably need to look for something specific. So I don't know how Naughty Dog's been in the news. Oh, how about latest news? Okay, so Naughty Dog confirms the 30 frames per second option for The Last of Us. That comes from something called PlayStation Universe. Uh, the Last of Us lead artist quits Naughty Dog. That comes from GameSpot. That's a pretty good site. I like to go to GameSpot a lot. IGN, that's another site. How game design shaped Naughty Dog. That sounds interesting. It comes from a really serious place, Forbes. It's not just a video game magazine. There's that, by the way, right below that was the same article we just found. Something about the graphics hype. So if we like this article, if you read it and think, hey, this is interesting, I can comment on this. This is where you'll use your DGO tools because for the search engine options, you need to be using your DGO tools to bookmark it and add it to your library. Okay, so it's a little bit different than the LexisNexis where you have to take a screenshot or share the permalink. Here, you're not going to just share the URL. You're going to just create a bookmark in your DGL list. Okay. So, and by the way, don't choose Naughty Dog. I don't want anybody saying, "Oh, look, the instructor did all the work for me. Look, he found my article. He found my." No, don't hand in anything with Naughty Dog. I'm sorry if you're a Uncharted fan too, but don't do that. Okay, and the last thing I need to show is the AP Images database. So I'm gonna keep clicking back and hope it gets me back to where I started. Okay, good. The AP Images database is up top. We like AP Images because these are photos that you're allowed to use. If you remember for the week one digital identity assignment, there was a pretty strict rule that you could not use any images unless you took them yourself. To be honest, my digital identity project probably should have followed those guidelines, so I'm not teaching bad things, but I did explain in my comment that I used images because I know how to find allowable images. We live in a world where, listen, we're making Facebook posts, we're sharing things with friends, right? Like on Facebook, you see people are sharing like a wacky cat photo that has a funny caption underneath, and you don't know if that person really they didn't take that cat photo, they found it somewhere, slapped some funny words on it, and they're sharing it with everybody. So I understand that in certain situations, we're grabbing things, we're grabbing images, we're grabbing this, we're sharing it with friends. But when it comes time to handing in schoolwork, or when you have a job and you need to produce materials, you can't just go anywhere you want and grab images because we all know that you can go just about anywhere online, right click on an image and save it to your desktop. So it's easy to do, but technically you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, we'll kind of turn a blind eye when it comes to those sort of light things like social media, but when it comes time for school or work, you shouldn't be doing that. So the AP images collection is great because you can use images from here. They're perfectly fine for you to use in your school projects. So if you click on, it's just like any other search tool. So I'm gonna put Naughty Dog. What else should I search for? Uh, Uncharted, maybe. Okay, only one result. It comes from the E3. But let's say I like that photo. It could work, right? It gives you a pretty. Actually, this one's pretty cool because it's not just a picture of the game. It's actually showing the a larger picture of the conference. So it's putting it in context, so we understand that it's Naughty Dog presenting. So that could work, right? And by the way, here's that reference number you need. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy it right now. Oops. Okay, I just copied it. And then you can click download, and it will take you to a separate page. And you just have to click download again. It will ask you like what size you want, but typically you only have one option. It's giving you just the smallest version, but it's perfectly fine for presentations. So I click on the download button, I wait, and there it is. So let's say I go back to my presentation, and let's say for that LexisNexis article, I'd like to have a picture accompanying it. Uh, Mac is really awesome because all I have to do is go back. Oops. Oh, now I got too many things open. So much for it being easy. Let me close a bunch of stuff. I'm getting lost. Okay. So in Mac, it's really easy, like, because it goes to a specific downloads function, and all I have to do is grab the picture, right? I got it. Boom, drop it in. And again, I can resize it, I can play around with it. But the other important thing to do is that reference number that I just copied and pasted. Put it somewhere, please. So let me get this guy. You could drag it to like the bottom of your slide. Right? You could put it here or there. Okay. And if you want to label it, that's fine. AP number, whatever. but I know where it will come from. But I need that reference number so I can go back and check to make sure that you're not just grabbing images from anywhere, that you're not just going to a company's website and grabbing their images. Okay, that it comes from AP images. Um, does this make sense, everybody? Yes. Okay. Good. Um, One final thing I wanted to show you. Again, I think most people stick to one of the presentation types of software, but I do want to show. I don't want this. Where's my other thing? I do want to show that if you're comfortable with blogging, a blogging tool can work really well for this assignment. Um, this is a blog I created. It has no connection to this assignment, so don't get confused, okay? This is just my online teaching portfolio, which is just a fancy way of saying it's got my resume, it's got other teaching materials, stuff that in the old days you would actually have in paper form in like a binder that you could share with people during a job interview. But now we can put all this stuff online. But this is a WordPress blog that I created. So it's got a welcome page. It's got my teaching philosophy. It's got a list of courses that I taught. But if I go back, there's a dashboard, which is where I can control things. And all blogging tools have this. So if you don't use WordPress, you can use whatever you like. Um, well, that's not what I wanted. Okay, I'm not finding the function, but let me actually, you know what? It will be useful for me to show the blog itself. Each of these areas, home, CV, teaching statement, courses taught, they're actually separate pages within the blog, separate sections. And I was trying to find the function on the dashboard that just lists all of them. But basically, you create these things by going to pages, and you can just create a new page and title it whatever you want. This can be really useful for if you want to use a blogging tool for this assignment, because instead of having sections called, in this case, curriculum vitae, which is a fancy name for resume, etc., you can just create sections called company profile, Lexus Nexus article number one, Lexus Nexus article number two, search engine article number one, search engine article number two, right? And then within those pages, so let's imagine that this is the company profile page. You can upload an image. You can have your paragraph appear. You can include, if this is your Lexus Nexus article number one, you can have an image. You can have your paragraph. You can include your snapshot or permalink, right? So blocking actually works really, really well. So if you're someone who's not crazy about presentation software, or you just want to try something new, or you're just so sick of PowerPoint, I hear you because I use them all the time to make slides. Blogging tools are great because they're so, in some ways, they're easier. You just create the blog, create pages, and boom, it's the same thing, but it's not the static slide after slide after slide. That said, I have no problem with people who want to use PowerPoint or Keynote. You don't get points taken off. Again, those are sort of the most attractive choices because they are presentation software after all. But you do have other options. So if you want to try the blog option, have at it. If someone mentioned Adobe Elements, you want to try that, have at it. Okay, so you're not limited to just PowerPoint. But if you do use PowerPoint, there's no problem with that either. Speaking of PowerPoint, let me go back to my presentation because there's only one more slide left, which is kind of a recap thing. So if you want to try out your screenshot function, this would be a pretty good screenshot to take because this is sort of an assignment checklist. Your assignment sheet has this as well, but this is probably a bit more detailed than what the assignment sheet gives you. Um, so if you have a PC, try out. I think I forget Richard or Jonathan said Alt plus print screen will take a screenshot. I said Windows logo plus print screen. Someone else said just press print screen. So maybe you want to try out those functions right now. But here's an overview of what you're going to do, right? That you'll need a screenshot of your company's LexisNexis profile, a DGO entry for that profile, and a paragraph for why you admire this company and chose it. Next, two articles about that company that you found through LexisNexis, with one paragraph for each article, using those questions in the evaluation guide to create that paragraph. You'll include either a screenshot or a permalink. Next, two articles about the company that you found through search engines. Again, one paragraph for each article that answers the questions in that evaluation guide. For this, you'll create DGL links for each article. And lastly, you'll find four images through the AP Images database. Use those images as you see fit throughout the presentation. But when you do use those images, you're going to include that AP reference number. So the gist of the assignment, I think, is actually pretty easy. Company profile, paragraph why you like it. Two articles that you found where you'll write a paragraph each answering some questions. Same thing for two articles you found through search engines. And then make sure that you have four pictures. It's pretty simple. It's just that there are so many things to keep track of: screenshots, Digo entries, permalinks, another screenshot possibly, using LexisNexis, using search engines, going back to Digo, having four images through the AP Images database, including the reference number. So it's a lot to keep track of, but the overall assignment really isn't that difficult, which is why I'm going over this with some care, because I don't want to see people lose points. Because you lose points if you have four images, but you don't have these reference numbers. You lose points if you have two articles with nice paragraphs, but you didn't create Deagle links. So make sure that you're including all this stuff, because a big part of this class is showing me that you know how to use these tools. There's one thing, other final thing I wanted to show, which is if you don't take a look at this already, you should be, which is you should always be looking at the rubric for each assignment. So here's the grading rubric for this one. Let me make this a little bit larger. Right, it tells you, like, it's also a reminder, did the presentation include a screenshot with a reason why the company is chosen? And then it tells you what you should be doing if you want an exceptional grade for that category, just an okay grade, and so on. Um, so this is also a checklist reminder, and I'm always amazed at how many times students kind of don't look at the rubric, because the rubric is a checklist of sorts. So go through that as well, and it also tells you like what you need to do great, to do pretty good, to do okay, and to do not so hot. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, questions? Any questions? I know I went through a lot of material. Okay, but I think it was useful, and I hope that I made it pretty clear. But any questions you have about the team debates, about this assignment that's due Sunday, about any of the functions that I just went over, or the gist of what you need to be doing, now's the time to ask. Do we have questions? Yes, no. If the answer is no, then that means that I must have done an amazing job. So yeah, well, you guys got a lot of useful info. I just hope that others watch the video, because, well, this, I don't have to say this to you because you're here, but other people lose points because they don't watch these videos, right? Because I don't grade them, I don't take attendance. So, but then come assignment time, I know who's watched it and who hasn't, because I kind of walk people through things, and that's something that you miss out on. You like the Twilight comments? Yeah, I could talk about Twilight. It does make you not more popular, because I would never describe myself as popular, but it is amazing how many conversations you can have with people, because everybody in the world, well, maybe not everybody, but everybody at least knows what Twilight is, and most people have seen at least one of the movies, even if they hate them. So it's a good thing to kind of know. Yeah, PC versus Mac stuff. Again, I don't mean to tease you guys, but if you hang in there and you're here in month 5, you'll get to experience the wonder that is the MacBook Pro. I would never go back to PC. So easy. Everything is drag and drop. I know PCs are drag and drop now too, but it's so much more fluid in Mac. I mean, it's just like I never click on attach things for emails. I never have to click on upload. It's just drag and swipe, drag and swipe. It's really amazing. Even the touchpad is swiping. Like, there are lots of things you can do using one finger, using two fingers, using three fingers to bring up menus, to scroll up and down the page. Never am I going to have to touch a mouse again, or go to these little things on the side of the screen, right, that I'm touching now to go up and down. I just swipe as I'm doing now. you can't see, but I'm actually using my two fingers to swipe up and down on the touchpad. It's really really awesome. Will you get points for Twilight images? Probably not, because I doubt unless your company is. I'm not even sure what Twilight dedicated company there is. Uh, Probably not. Jacob isn't a werewolf. What is he then? They call him something else in the book. By the way, for people who are watching, I'm going to officially stop the recording right now because you probably don't want to hear our continued Twilight discussion. So, for people who watch us after the fact, I hope you found this information useful. Email me, message me with any questions you may have.